Thank you very much for invitation. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here. Usually when I organize conference, I consider prime time as the first speakers, and then with the time I put lower and not that important topics or some newcomers. And here we are because most of you are already tired. So I will try to do not kill you with the speech. Try to make it bright, light, and if you have any question, please interrupt me so we can have some conversation. Otherwise, we could all fall asleep. Thank you very much to all the sponsors, especially Magma, for organizing and coming up with the idea of e-commerce party and other sponsors that actually make it happen. And let's move on to the main topic for me. So as said, I work for Sylius since 2014. With Emil presentation, I was just one of the first people that joined Paweł back in 2014 when he set up the company behind the project. And since then, I also fallen in love and put all heart into the project. And right now, the second year, I run my own company, Commerce Weavers. And if you need any help with Sylius, please let us know. And here again, similar to Emil's speech, I have a small timeline because I will cover 3 parts. Because it should be only about 2.0, but there are some important factors in 1.13 and 1.14 that I wanted to mention to you. So the first version is 1.14, which came up a little bit more than 1 month ago. Is anyone of you already using it? Nice. But both of you are from the core team, so you're cheating. And as most of the people do not know yet, and the presentation from Mikołaj with the new features is still in the front of us, I wanted to bring a few new things that came into 1.14 convince you to move with us. So first of all, the new coming things, and it's also related to 2.0 because that would be the default version of workflow component in Sylius. Symfony workflow support came with 1.13, and it means that you can have the graph printed in your profiler with everything available there to have information. What was called, clicking on the transaction, you can see what services will be called if something like that happen. So first of all, it increases your developer experience. Secondly, we are one step closer. The problem of the Sylius is that we usually overlive most of the libraries that we are using. That is true for Payum, that is true for Phosphorus, that is true for Vinzu State Machine. So Vinzu State Machine was created for Sylius, and only we are maintaining it because the only users of that are from Sylius. And moving closer to Symfony, it's always a good decision for us because it means that we have less burden, and it's much easier for Symfony developers to come to Sylius again, or just to start using Sylius. So in our hearts, there is always an idea to work as close as possible to Symfony. Sometimes it's not that easy because for the backward compatibility promise, but finally, Symfony workflow is there, and I convince you to give it a try because it will be a default version of our workflow with 2.0. So providing it for 1.13 is also our way to provide you forward compatibility. So 1.14 will have both the state machines, and then in 2.0 you will need to use this one. So you have at least right now half year to migrate your state machines. Right now, if you would like to use it, you need to put this configuration into your project, or it can be turned on based on each state machine. So if, for example, if you have only one state machine that is customized, you can turn it on for rest of them, or change the default one and keep Vinzu in this one, the old version, and then migrate part by part, and so on. So that should help you migrate to the new version. Secondly, our attributes for the people that were with me for the workshop. I already shown it to you. That previously, if I would like to have a custom promotion, I would need to write a YAML configuration with that, and you would need to know what is the tag name, what are other options, because there is no autocomplete like that. You can also choose XML, but the problem is that, for example, you need to know where to use dash and where to use underscore, etc., because it's not the same. So even reverse engineering isn't that easy. And right now what you can do is to use a whole attribute, and also with that it means that you are working with the PHP ecosystem, or in the PHP realm, which allows you to use full qualified class names. and then with help of attributes, if you will change the name of the class, if you move it, IDE will do everything for you. So finally, we are much closer, and the developer experience rises because everything is one place. It tells you what needs to be defined, and also it covers you if you need to refactor anything. This is the list of all of the attributes that are available right now. So basically, every time when you will need to use tag in Sylius, right now you have an attribute for that. So it's a huge DX bust, in my opinion. And to do so, right now, you need to turn it on. It will be also default in 2.0, but that's also the missing part for the workshop that make me some troubles. So remember that with new features, we usually have an opt-in that will start working for you for also forward compatibility. Another part that came to Sylius 1.13 is Omnibus Directive Solution Price History. That was a plugin outside of Sylius to be able, so Sylius team was able to work on that in different time frames than whole Sylius, but right now is the default, and of course will stay with us if you will need to use Omnibus Directive. And API is not experimental anymore, and of course will change partially with 2.0 due to API platform free migration. But the good part is that it will not change until 2.0 and later on for version 1.x. That would be all for 1.13, and let's take a look what will be in 1.14. 1.13 was meant to be the last version, however there is almost a half year between 1.13 and 2.0, and some fixes, some new stuff can come to Sylius, so we decided that probably there will be 1.14 as well. Just as this version is usually the same as 2.0 minus the deprecation. So first of all, there will be a compatibility layer for 2.0. Most of the stuff that works in 1.14 will work. So 2.0 will be 1.13 minus deprecation with some additional asterisks that I will discuss later. But most of the stuff on the code level should work as it works right now. So if you will have properly working 1.14, you should be able to more or less easily move to 2.0. That's true for Symfony workflow component. Deprecation, if you remove deprecation, you should be fine, unless there will be two exceptions about that later on. Secondly, the resource bundle is not directly connected to 1.14 because it has its own release cycle, but it will be released also together, and it's something new that I would like to discuss with you. So once again, we are discussing attributes, especially for the people that were working with Sylius for many years. You know how many YAML files you need to change for grid, for resources. Together, we also have this problem during the workshop. But right now, attributes are standard in PHP realm, and of course, you could use it, for example, for doctrine mapping. This is also the default mapping that claims we're Sylius standard right now. But what you couldn't do is use as resource, something similar also to AP platform. So you couldn't, until now, you couldn't declare resources just with the tag. Of course, once again, you can declare everything here with sections, templates, and more, like operations. So finally, you don't need to open an additional file. Everything can be configured in the resource. In similar manner, once again, to AP platform, what I already covered, that it was highly inspired by them. And of course, you can see that finally we have, for example, form types that are, again, full qualified class names, which, again, increase developer experience by being able to refactor your code without worrying about the configuration, and also make it easier to write it. The problem is that behind it, there is brand new architecture. This is how the resource controller look like. It's almost 1024 lines. I think we should do something about to round it up. And this is whole controller. So if any of you ever try to extend it, you know how much pain is it. The main problem is that, especially with the plugins, you cannot easily extend it. So once you extend it, there is problem of multi-inheritance between different plugins and the application. Really crazy stuff. That's probably one of the worst, the most magical and the worst places in whole Sylius. And this is what Loic Fremont actually came up with when he finished his refactor. This is the whole controller. This is the main controller, resource controller 1-to-1. It's about 50 lines long. You can actually read it on one slide. Once again, highly inspired by AP platform concepts, especially especially with parts of providers and processors. Now I skip a few slides. So it's ground up rework, but it's also fully backwards compatible. So right now there will be 2 versions that you can slowly migrate to the new architecture, and with Resource 2.0 the only new version will be there, but we still need time to migrate to that. And everything that comes to new architecture will come. It doesn't need to be from HTTP, but that will be the default version. There will be a data provider which will translate user command to whatever data there is. Then it will be passed to data processor, and then there will be some return value. And that's what I shown you. So basically the main controller is there's like some context initialization, question if we can write to it, we'll provide data, we'll validate it, and then process and return the value. So right now, finally, the controller is super thin. It's finalized without anything there because there is no need to make it extendable. Because if you would like to have custom operation, it's enough to just declare the same operation with custom provider. So for another index action, you can just change the provider, or you can write custom controller, but mostly by defining a new attribute with the custom short name, custom provider, and custom processor. Because in the processor, you can do whatever you wish. At the end, you will just receive the data. So finally, you don't need to extend resource controller to provide any custom operation, which was one of the biggest pain of Sylius until now. The second part that has changed quite significantly is grid, and we provided some new flavors to the grid itself. Something that we already tested out during today's workshop is PHP configuration with the grid builder in the middle. But we also provided service-based, so something that you can actually also decorate and use as any other service. It's lazy loaded, so it also should bring you better the developer experience, as well as you can use full qualified class name of the grid as well for detection. And there's also a make grid one step forward with some better developer experience. So finally, you don't need to remember all of the stuff, but just call the method. Some scaffold will be created for you, and you need to just customize it to your needs. And moving on to the main topic of the speech, so Sylius 2.0, it will be for sure for SyliusCon, maybe even a few days before, but at SyliusCon for sure there will be Sylius 2.0, and we are working hard to squeeze everything that's there to be available. And among that is, for example, new payment system. If you have any question, there is a main brain behind it, Francis here. So he's doing the heavy work on that. So feel free to attack him with any questions if I will be occupied. With new payment, we are adding a new concept which is called payment requests, and that would be the first class citizen in payment processing. So the idea is that one payment can have several requests in the meantime. Basically, what we want to do is that you are creating a payment request, and then this payment request helps us to communicate with payment provider. And if there will be another payment request among the same payment, it's just create a new payment request on the top. So one of the ideas is to not overwrite all of the data that it's coming one way or another. It's rather to lock and keep all the communication locked into the server, so you can also look back and check what happened with your payments. Sometimes it means that perhaps we will overcharge or undercharge, but there is no problem if you have a bug. That's shit, that sucks, but it's okay, unless as you can actually determine why it happened. The problem of the current Sylius payments is that we always overwrite what is in the details, and you only have seen the last state of the payment, and it was much harder to determine what's happening there. So payment request is one of the ways how to solve it, but another key factor for that is that payment requests and the whole architecture is API first. So Francis spent a lot of time determining how most of the payment gateways work, how to provide the typical endpoints for that, how to communicate, and that was the first integration that we did with that. It was to create API first approach because Payum was really hard to integrate with API workflow. And coming to the Payum, it's one thing that we try to remove entirely from Sylius. The problem is that it's quite crucial and it's quite deeply rooted into Sylius. And especially if we remove it for 2.0, most of you will, maybe not never, but for a long time will not migrate to 2.0 because all of the payment gateways that are available on the market are using Payum. But we would like you to convince you to use the new architecture. That's why also Francis worked quite hard to provide it with the integration layer or something like for 2.0 you can still use Payum, but for anything new we recommend new architecture. So the whole 2.0 is the version when you should migrate to the new architecture, and with 3.0 there will be no other choice because we will remove finally Payum. And right now in the new architecture, the main players are Messenger and Workflow, which means that finally you can have everything that should, as it should work with Symfony, proper dependency injection, which was with the Payum, proper queuing system, which was also the Payum because of the queue that they were using there. So we are moving as close as possible to the Symfony architecture with the new stuff and providing you a full 2.x version to migrate to the new architecture. There's also a topic of UI. First of all, admin panel, which will be based on the Bootstrap, so full ground-up rework, with addition to the tabler, which just gives us several additional styles for admin panels. In the worst case, we can just implement it back to the Sylius. Another key factor is that we're using Symfony UX, if I understood correctly, something that Loic mentioned in his talk. So Symfony UX plus live components and tweak components will be key factors in the new admin panel. Additional with Sylius tweak hooks, so the third iteration of how to extend templates in Sylius. Who of you ever used Sylius UI events? Kevin, don't lie, I know that you as well. But still not many people. The problem is that they are not widely known. We didn't announce them widely. Plus, they're not in many places, so sometimes there are not enough of them. And Sylius tweak hooks is somehow rework of that, but it's also another time when we rebuild it from the ground up, because it allows you, it's already integrated with the Symfony UX. Just an example of what the tweak hooks and Sylius UI events are. Let's take an example of that we have some template that has some base and we have some block. And I would like to inject that part here. So basically, when I would like to do so, and this is in the vendor folder, and this is what I want to add, the problem is that I would need to manually extend this file or override it with the templates. Now, the tweak hooks or events are there to allow me to declare that, okay, at this level, I would be able to easily add new templates. And then with part of the YAM configuration, I can declare that there will be a new template injected directly here. And with that, I can also turn it off and on, reorganize the order of that. So it allows you to extend your templates without losing compatibility with Sylius. Because otherwise, if I would override the whole template and in Sylius we would change something in the original template, it will be on you to actually track down changes that we are providing to the templates. And with this solution, you can actually have much better, much more precise control over what's shown to the customers. Plus, all of that is happening during cache warming up process, so there's no performance penalty in that. I have only a few more minutes, so there is a demo that is available for everyone, and if I will have enough time, I will show you here, but let's try to squeeze the topic, and then if there will be a time, I will just show you around the UI. One more thing, there was a question from Kevin during the break between workshop and now. Or actually a suggestion that we do not provide enough events. Right now, every field that is available there as a form type has its own event, so you can just turn off one field or add at any place whatever you wish. In addition, the components or tweak hooks are directly integrated into tweak components, so you can write tweak component in Symfony UX and use them as the hookables to the event. So here, what exactly is happening, there is a class which is a tweak component which allows you to dynamically load something from the Sylius. So no more custom controllers injected into admin panels, because it's also, there's much less performance penalty in tweak components. That's why we move also to this one. And of course, live components as well. So for example, statistics or image upload or anything that is dynamic right now on new Sylius admin panel will be done with Symfony UX. On the shop, there's Again, ground rework will not drop shop. There will be a new UI, quite similar to what you see already. I also have it run locally on my machine if you would like to check it out. So first of all, we will not drop UI. Secondly, it will not be backward compatible. But in the shop, that's not that big deal. The bigger deal is with admin panel, which will also not be backward compatible. So changing from 1.x to 2.0 means that you need to rewrite everything that you change in admin panel. The Symfony UX and weak hooks, the difference is so big that we cannot support both of them at the same time, unfortunately. With the shop, the problem is smaller because most of the people have their custom templates anyway, but there will be just a new template with Bootstrap and Vanilla.js without tweak hooks, without Symfony UX, because we also do not have time and it's already taking us so much time. Later on I can show you how it works right now. In the terms of API, we are integrating to API platform 3.2 or 3.3 already, because we're already lagging behind. So main changes are state providers and state processors before persisters and providers, if I recall correctly. That's the biggest change. So some classes are totally different. There is no data transformers anymore, so we need to change a few of the comments. The good part is that the logic of the comment will remain the same because it's something that we are decoupled from API platform anyway. And I'm open to discuss with you some details. There will be some changes in API contracts, but we try to minimize them. And finalizing, there is a Symfony compatibility case, which first of all, we are moving from Visual State Machine to workflow, but you have time to migrate it before jumping to 2.0. There is clock versus Sylius calendar. So before Symfony clock, we write our own custom component to handle dates, but it's not needed anymore. So with 2.0, we are dropping our code to move to the Symfony clock. And Symfony 7 will be only supported for Sylius 2.0. So right now, 6.4 is available for Sylius 1.12 and 1.13, and it will be the last version supported by 1.x branch. Luckily, it's LTS. Symfony 7 will be only available for Sylius 2.0, plus, of course, if you just use resource or grid bundles that can be reused outside. Bloik already solved problems, and technical bundles already support Symfony 7, but it will not be supported by the main branch. There's also an idea, and we had discussion to have a new folder structure. So remove components and have merged components and bundles together. It will reduce almost by half amount of the bundles that we need to maintain. The problem is that there are high hopes and high needs, but no too many hands to do that work. So 1.14 may have merge of this, but if we will not find time, then we'll wait another 2 years with that. It happens, but there are just ideas if we will find space for that. Is there anything more? It's up to you. Probably not that much, because all of that already covers most of our times until November. So just to sum up the version compatibility, we believe we don't want to be in this stage, which is what more or less happened to Magento. The rewrite was so big that it was easier to migrate to Sylius, Shopware, or another framework. We used it a lot in our communication. So we would like to be somewhere here. This part is where we're not compatible between 1 and 2 version, and this is mostly API platform 3, because 2.7 to 3.3 is not compatible at all, and we need to make some hard choices there. Plus admin panel. That would be also the biggest problem for everyone that supports that wrote plugins especially, and also for you to just migrate, because some part of the UI will not work until you migrate. Hopefully that will not block you for too long to migrate, and by too long I mean half year or a year, which should still be a considerable good time for that. But we try to reduce the scope or the version incompatibilities as much as we can, but we do not have more power to reduce it even more. There will be also a change to the release cycle. So problem right now with upgrades is that Sylius versions are not predictable when they will be. They're usually too big. There are plenty of problems. And we would like to move again with the Symfony and AP platform path Our release cycle will be the release cycle of Symfony plus 1 year. Usually it takes us about a year to migrate to the new major version. Right now it should be easier, but still would like to give us some time to migrate. So if Symfony 2, if Sylius 2 will be released Symfony 7 plus 1 year, then Symfony 3 will be, Sylius 3 will be released when there will be Symfony 8 plus 1 year, which means 2 years after Sylius 2.0 release. And then minor version every half year. That would be all from me. Thank you very much.